So I don't know where everybody's going to come in, but I have one viewer. It says, let's take a look. It looks like we're live, and welcome to the new viewers. Cheers. It would be great if I could get some folks to join in on the audio session as well. To get it more interactive. But in any case, let me talk a little bit about a few things that people have been asking about. First question. Hi, Matt and everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. How's it going? It's going great. Uh, just spent the week skiing, nice and relaxed. Uh, so I just wanted to take this hangout as an opportunity to reach out to the community, to talk a little bit about what things are going on at Pentaho inside our labs. Um, so a question from, well, let me just mark this one as done. Question from Dan Keeley. Can you let us know what are the things going on around Spark? It's gone mainstream recently, he says. That's a bold claim, Dan. I don't believe you. But Spark, yeah. I think we haven't done just one proof of concept, but 10 or so. Um, I think we'll go and send some stuff to some people around the community. Um, I think we should have some solution pretty quickly. Um, I think it was too soon to act on Spark sooner than we acted right now because of the fact that Spark itself has been in constant state of flux, the distributions changing, things at a very rapid pace all the time. So it was a moving target for us, very tricky. Initially, we had the problems like concurrency issues all over the place. But right now, we're actually looking at a few very interesting uh, use cases where we see visual Spark, where we have kettle transformations running in Spark. Um, and that is actually going quite nicely. So, but since we're talking about various aspects of Spark, Spark SQL, Spark Streaming, Spark Batch, since Spark is pretty much a bolted-on thing inside the Hadoop ecosystem, so I think we're looking at adding a few more options around management of Spark jobs and stuff like that. Uh, so yeah, I've seen a few interesting demos, and it's time for Pentaho to fully support it now. I think that's where the issue is, the support part, not the code part. Very, very tricky environments to support, very flimsy sets of libraries and functionality. layer upon layer upon layer that we need to support, and I think that's where the problem is. So we're treading very cautiously, having been burned a few times in the past. I'll consider that question answered, Dan. Invite me to London, and we'll talk about it more. All right. Uh, Question from Vinicius Cruz Zammuner. How PDI is going to integrate with Internet of Things tools, data, framework, sources. All right, so let's take this one. Um, so Vinicius, so Internet of Things. Uh, I've been talking about this in the past, and what we're seeing is actually that. Sorry about that. So what we're seeing is that um, data integration in general has been moving from just a couple of data sources, maybe you're staging a couple of tables, and we've been seeing that move to okay, let's stage thousands of tables, so let's process thousands of files, file types, and message types, and that sort of thing. And what we're seeing with Internet of Things is that process a lot of devices, a lot of different types of devices into the 10 to the 6th or 10 to the 7th or billions of devices into those kinds of ranges. And it's obviously clear to us that doing any sort of manual data integration in those last two types of data volumes and data variety types is that is no longer an option. And that's why we've been pushing pretty hard on working with metadata injection and model-driven data integration. So the I'm very happy to say that the development teams, the engineering teams are very hard at work in improving metadata injection support in PDI, implementing it for more steps. And what we also see is that by gaining more experience with these model-driven approaches, is that we have a good framework to build on top of to actually do proper support for Internet of Things. Internet of Things doesn't really have a prevailing standard coming out. So what Kettle then becomes is simply a bus that allows you to build plugins for all sorts of Internet of Things devices, all sorts of libraries out there. So I think that is where we're going. I think it could be a very interesting and winning combination. So where we describe all the Internet of Things devices, their ports, their protocols or whatever, in metadata separate from PDI, so that it becomes manageable. And for these very large deployments, I guess you need to build some kind of app to manage that anyway. So I will refer to C tools and then the other components for that. There's also lots of interesting things going on there as well. Yeah, model-driven Internet of Things approach. Um, that I think is the key to allowing us to process really large amounts of data. And for model-driven things, so we built a GitHub project. I let this drop in Frankfurt a couple of weeks ago, but if you go to my GitHub page, so github.com Mattcasters /blueprints, and so that project actually contains a bunch of standard ways or simple ways to process data in a queuing fashion, queuing with scale out or queuing locally. It explains or it demos how to automatically create tables with the data definition defined in JSON, for example. It has all sorts of cool basic building blocks that you can use to start wrapping around large sets of data, large amounts of files and stuff like that. All right. Okay, so I'll consider that question answered. Uh, I already know what the next one is. Detart. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. I'm really bummed out that we can't really get this. That I can't seem to open it up for questions, for more direct interaction. But hey, keep firing off questions. So, can you tell me how to run a unit test with your dataset plugin? I got everything set up, just don't know how to run the unit test. Also, do you think you could get some time fixing the preview bug? So yeah, I've been fixing the preview bug. The unit test project has had a little bit of a rocky history. At some point, I asked for permission to open source it, which I got, and then there have been some Pentaho East have had some concerns that it would be more like an enterprise edition thing, and then they didn't have time to create it as a product anyway. So I'm happy to say that we can keep it as open source. That turned out to be some back and forth that I really didn't need, but so I did fix the preview bug on my box. Um, it's actually I've been rewriting the unit test bit in the sense that in the old code that you have on GitHub, it's actually it just allows for one unit test per transformation. So you can actually design the unit test and define an input data set and a golden data set, and that would be it. Obviously, that will not do. So the things to fix, I think I'll line them up somewhere, but having multiple unit tests per transformation is a must. GUI-wise, I think we need to see which transformations have unit tests and which unit tests are defined for transformation. That's a little bit of a challenge. But metadata-wise or metastore-wise, it's actually pretty simple to do. But it's all wrestling with GUIs. I pretty much have the unit tests running to make that happen. And from changing a transformation at runtime, I'm actually moving towards actually just changing the metadata, copying the metadata of the transformation, changing it to match the unit test and stuff like that. So that's where we're going. Oh, I have an additional question. So once I have a data set for the steps, if I'm pressing the executing button, it will source the data from those data sets. Yes, that's actually what happens. So we replace the table input step. Actually, we would just inject the table. We would actually look up the row sets in the version that is still out there, and the version that was demoed on YouTube. Which actually look up the output data set and just put the data of the data set in there, in that row set. And that causes all sorts of problem because if you don't have a valid connection defined, for example, in table input step, it will still initialize and it will still do all sorts of stuff that we don't want. So so that's why I'm rewriting the transformation. So that's why it takes a bit of time. So both going from a good idea to actually a hardened tool is actually tricky because we're doing all sorts of tricky stuff. But that's what's going on for the unit tests. The toggling between input and normal steps. Pressing the exit. So the sourcing is actually run at runtime, and that will change to the generation or the replacement of these input steps with injector steps, so that with the same name, so that you can still recognize them. and we will inject the data into these injector steps. So to make it more foolproof, and then it's just a question of following the API of passing the data sets in parallel into those injector steps, feeding them rows of data, and then at some point we have a unit test that we validate. And the unit test is basically just the name of a step that we recognize during the execution, and then we look at the data that passes via the row producer in the wrapper transformation, and then we source the data. Oh, and one more problem that we have with the data sets and the validation is that we need all sorts of options to pass the data and keep the data sorted in the source database. Um, so we need to start working with IDs. Otherwise, the data will get randomly ordered in the database. So you delete some rows, you add some rows, it gets reordered. So we need to be able to run an order by sequence when we read the data from, say, a Postgres database. Um, Otherwise, testing becomes an issue. Uh, we can forego that option, but then we need to have an option to say that the golden dataset gets verified without ordering in place, and then we need an ID as well to look up all the values in the golden dataset. Anyway, so those are the two options. I don't know what the best one is. Well, I think I'll just start with having a sorted option, and then we'll validate the rows sorted the way that we do it right now. Next question: how do you toggle between data set input and normal input? Well, that's again a GUI problem. So my idea was to have like a unit test selector at the bottom, at the top in the toolbar, saying, okay, this is the unit test that I'm working on, or at least have an indicator to see which unit test you're working on. And if you don't have a unit test, then uh, it's not going to run the unit test if you run it. Something like that, a couple of buttons. And then maybe if you run in preview, then it's always going to select the data sets that you defined. Um, Something like that. Happy to hear input. Happy to hear your suggestions. That's what this hangout was about. Just getting some feedback from you guys, and I'll probably do something similar, or maybe a regular hangout every couple of weeks to get the ball rolling. Um, hmm, uh, Okay, a question from Dan Keeley. Can you give us the headline PDI features that are in 6.0, and when is 6.0 due out? Seems imminent. So, just a little bit on the on the on the scheduling of the releases. So we're actually at a schedule of doing one major release every year. So we had five, we had six, and now we'll have seven in October again around Pentaho World 16. And in between, we'll have uh, a couple of point releases. So 6.1 is due out, I think, in March. I'm not gonna put my hand in the fire because of that, uh, but that's due out in March, and they have actually code freeze. What all the new features are, I actually don't think I am at liberty to just do that feature presentation just yet. Although I think I saw a mail from Peter Alves Pass. Let me back that up, and maybe we'll do another session on it in 2 weeks. Let's do this every couple of weeks, and then I'll do a presentation and some demos. Okay, then, and you guys will be the first to hear it. Okay, so unit test. Is there a way to start it from the command line and Again, dtart, there is no GUI at the moment. I'm working on it. But first, I need to have this one-to-end relationship between the transformation and the number of unit tests. That's very critical, and that's almost done. So now that I have liberty of open sourcing everything and working on it with you guys, that will be a pleasure. Is there a way to start from the command line? Actually, it just runs if it's defined at the moment. So that was that question. Okay, so I have a question about metadata injection. With metadata injection, when injecting into a step which has already some settings defined, will it always override these ones first? Um, Actually, that's a very good, tricky question. It will uh, override the settings always if you tell it to do that. Um, and there are no dangers or concerns with that because actually in the first versions we had a system that just cleared out everything and then just injected it. It's actually quite important to keep the existing settings that are out there, especially with respect to defined lists and stuff like that. So I think we cleaned up a bunch of errors in the metadata injection algorithm. So right now it will only override if you explicitly tell it to override. I think that's the safest way to do this. That way you can actually explicitly clear or set fields in metadata. Okay. So another here. How to refresh the cache of the DI server after execution of each transformation and job. DI server in Enterprise Edition. Uh, the cache of the DI server. You mean the monitoring cache? That's a. Uh, I think there's a way to just call a URL and clear the cache, the monitoring cache. Actually, there's a bunch of services that you can call. Um, I'm not sure that I'm the right guy to answer that right now, but just in the BI server. Okay, so in the BI server, yeah, I think it's just a URL that you can call with HTTP GET or something. That's how we used to do it. I do think that Peter Alves was working at some point on a project that would give you a bunch of steps that allowed you to have fine grained control over the monitoring cache and stuff like that. So maybe reach out to him and see what he so what the status of that is. But I do know that it gives you access to a bunch of variables on the DI or the BA server. Uh, I think it's called something like I forgot what it's called. All right. So what else? Um, there are a bunch of other things that we have in the community, and one of the reasons for reaching out to the people out there is um, we have projects like Star Modeler. Um, so the Star Model is now kind of gone by the wayside, and I think from the community that's probably the number one kind of question that I get when will we revive Star Modeler and what's the future of that? And I don't know. I it's always been something that I did alongside of Pentaho and not with Pentaho. Whereas the unit tester is something that a lot of people at Pentaho is actually anxious to take a look at. Star Mauler is a little bit of a tool that has been uh, very anticipated by a lot of people, but we don't know exactly what to do with it. How do we integrate it with model with the metadata from Mongo, for example? There were some ideas that I had on doing that exactly that integration with Mongo, but it all required some investment in Mongo into making it a little bit more distributed in nature and less monolithic. Uh, so not everything stored in the schema. I mean with that, because obviously we will be editing things in various places. For example, in the schema editor, in that uh, in that star modeler, and yeah, if I model anything in star modeler and then somebody changes it on the BA server through the quick editor, how does that react? Now, in the meantime, in the years past, there have been advances made to those kind of aspects. So there might be a way to plug it all together. If there is an interest, please do let me know. I think I went as far as starting to move it all over to Metastore API, allowing us to make use of the shared metadata architecture that's now in place of Pentaho. Okay, so we're at the mark of half an hour. For next time, I think I'm gonna try to make this a regular hangout with as many people as possible. I think this broadcast is kind of blocking the live interaction. The question that we did uh, through the chat are nice, but give me some feedback as to what you would prefer, or maybe a massive Skype window or something like that. That's fine by me as well. So on the question for how to clear the community cache, so the CDC project does that community distributed cache. You don't have to be distributed to use that C-tool option. That is correct. But I do think it's you can do it straight from PDI as well. Um, all right. Um, any other questions, remarks, things you want to talk about? Just spit it out. Um, at the moment, Pentaho is calling everybody to Orlando in week April 18th. So I guess we'll see a restart of the activities of a lot of cool development features. By then we'll have a 6.1 out. So I think things are looking up. I know that some people have left Pentaho, and probably more people will leave Pentaho, but I think it's still an interesting place to be. Um, Things to look out for are, like I said, Spark integration with PDI. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Um, I've seen the demos; it looks really nice. There's improved metadata injection. There's a tons of stuff coming in the PDI ecosystem. Um, what my focus has been in the last couple of months and the last half year was more along the thought pattern that we have a tremendous amount of code and a tremendous amount of functionality already inside of Pentaho, and so we've been working really hard to find clever new ways and doing very simplistic ways to unlock that functionality. And so let me leave you in the chat with the URL to that project, and I would like to have feedback on that project as well. So here it goes in the chat. And if you have anything to ask me, you can use the chat as well. And, Yeah, maybe I'll just stop the broadcast right here and just mail me at mcasters at pentaho.org. If you have any specific questions, we'll get a real QA going. Uh, I think you guys can join if for some reason that option is disabled. I think. Well, let's figure it out for next time. Uh, in the meantime, um, thanks for watching. Thanks for asking the questions. If there are no more, then oh, here. Is there a place I can post suggestions for the next hangout? Yeah, just send it to me, mcasters at pentaho.org. Um, Another question: what are nowadays the correct places to meet with other community users? Is still the forum, Jira? There once was an IRC channel. Well, that's part of what I wanted to revive because in the beginning of PDI of Kettle, which incidentally is 10 years ago. Yay! 10 years of open source Kettle, uh, which also means that I yesterday or the day before I was 10 years at Pentaho. Yay! Anyway, the correct place, I don't know. IRC seems to be dying out. I wanted to try the Hangouts to get more a direct interaction, but I would love to have video alongside. I want to see the faces that I'm talking to. This is too one-sided. I know that once Detard and I and Dan and I get going, we get very lively conversations, and I want to get that. Even if we have to try a couple of times, it would still be worth it. And I think developing a lot of these things, I can do that myself, but I need the ideas from the community. And I would love to interact with you guys a little bit more. And I think that's also uh, the intent from Patawa and Hitachi to reach out to the community a bit more. All right. Oh, thanks. Thanks for the congratulations. Yay. uh, it was a nice effort on the part of Pentaho. I had nothing. I had no effort. I just had to stay on board. All right. So let's keep it at that, and I'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks, and I'll see the suggestions as to what the best format and medium is. All right. Bye.